Well, here we are, we're back. A massive welcome to all our viewers on YouTube to a very special episode here on InfoSec Live, where I'm going to be joined by our community's very own Paul Pearson to hear all about his journey into the industry and the work he's doing in the education space with EduRunner. And of course, giving you, our audience, the chance to engage with and learn from our guest all the way through the show. So a bit of background about Paul. Save him regurgitating it when he comes on. I'm thinking about you here, Paul. Paul's a cybersecurity specialist with over 15 years of IT experience, 10 years of military experience and 5 years of management expertise. He excels in team environments and has excellent communication skills, experience in government, not-for-profit organisations and the private sector, both large and small, with a detailed understanding of technology, new and old, an IT innovator eager to create more secure information systems and promote safe work environments. But before we bring him on, and for those new to the channel, I've actually just realised that I haven't even got my microphone on. So this is how prepared I am today. Let me clip that on. Hopefully that'll work a little bit better. For those new to the channel, I'm your incompetent host, Simon Linstead, today. And by sharing stories and best practices over the last few months, it's led to 210,000 views here on YouTube by you, our amazing 11,206 subscribers. So thank you so much. And for anyone out there looking to get your brand noticed, or you want the chance to share your own journey, reach out to me through LinkedIn or indeed through the InfoSec Live community where all this has started. And for those brave enough, there is a QR code here. If you're not a member of the InfoSec Live community, we've got study groups, mentor sessions, free mini courses, and regular networking events to help you raise your game in cyber, no matter what stage you are in your career, giving you the opportunity to network with over 6,000 cyber professionals. And recently, 3 weeks ago, we've officially become a not-for-profit here in the UK to help our members even more, and there'll be more news dropping soon on this, so watch this space. But if you haven't joined the community already, you can join it through the QR code. If you're not brave enough to use the QR code because you work in cyber, there is a link in the description as well. And don't forget, each and every one of our live shows gives you, our audience, the chance to engage with our guests. So make sure if you've got any questions, drop them in the chat. Let's bring Paul on. Well, that was the most unprofessional intro I've ever done. Apologies, Paul. Got no microphone, great. Couldn't remember my words. Did I pronounce EduRunner correctly?
You got it. You nailed it. EduRunner.
There we go. 1 out of 3 is not bad, right? Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. Before I ask you to give a bit of background, just for context, Paul's been a massive supporter of the InfoSec Live community. He's even provided for some free training to some of our members in the past. So a massive thank you for that, Paul. And it's taken me too long to get you on this show. So thanks so much for taking the time to come on. But before we dig into what you're doing now, can we hear a bit about your background, how you got into tech and where your passions come from?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Paul Pearson. I am originally from San Diego, California. I've always been into technology, ever since I was a kid. I kind of like really got into it during like the whole, LimeWire, Kazaa, Napster era, and I made a name for myself getting movies and music, and selling that kind of stuff.
Did you used to print the covers off as well?
No, I didn't do all. I didn't go all that. I wasn't quite into marketing like that,
Okay.
But
apparently some people did. I've heard that.
yes, too much work, not all about that. And then so fast forward, I ended up joining the military, and I joined the Air Force in 2008. I was a metrologist there, and if anybody, for all you military geeks, metrology is the study of weights and measurements, and so I would calibrate stuff like IFF systems, identify friend foe, TACAN, um, things of that nature. Those are I didn't actually do the TACAN, but I did stuff surrounding TACAN.
Yeah.
Not that anybody knows what that is. And then I ended
I'm sure
up
someone does.
probably somebody. And then I ended up automating a lot of their systems, and they didn't really like that too much. They wanted to like keep their manning, and by automating stuff, it would make it would make you would need less people. And so I kind of took that as my cue to get out of there. And then they referred me over to Cyber Command. So I spent 4 years at Langley learning about the global cyber mission. Um, and then I jumped from there to the 275th Cyber Operations Squadron, did some more missions there. And then I was working as a contractor for a long time. I kind of bounced around different government agencies, and then I ended up landing in a role as an information system security officer, working on an army contract. And then that's where kind of like my career took the like a really big turn. I ended up accidentally discovering corporate espionage, and blew the whistle, lost my job, lost my clearance, and then that's when I started my company, Running Name LLC, and that's when I started working with all these different organizations, like Whistleblowers of America, um, uh, National Workplace Bullying Coalition, Blacks in Cyber, because they all kind of like go after these issues in different ways.
And have
Uh,
you resolved that issue then?
so no, that issue has not been resolved. I'm actually I believe the Make It Safe Coalition. It's like a team of attorneys trying to like figure out legal national security stuff. I think they're using my case as an example.
Okay, brilliant. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully it will help other people. It's the important
Yes.
thing as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of whistleblowers in the cybersecurity space. And I think there's also been like research suggesting that because there's like a lot of people on the spectrum in the IT space. There's like a lot of people with autism and
Yeah,
different other issues, and they don't they handle moral injury differently. You know?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um,
And
sorry, go on.
no, yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, they it's people on the spectrum have been they're more likely to blow the whistle. Honestly, what
And
research is
why is
starting to
that?
show. Because like they can't ignore it. It's like some people might take a cue. Hey, this comma, don't move this comma, or they might suggest something that would say stop looking into this, where someone on the
Yeah,
spectrum might not see the social cue.
might not get the inference. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And they stay on that issue until they just are let go. You know?
which is a hugely positive thing, apart from the being let go. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
a guy in Tampa who might even be watching this, Paul Dunlop, who does an awful lot of work in the fraud space. If I haven't introduced you to him, I'll introduce you to him afterwards. But he's often talking about whistleblowing and how the perception of that needs to change, not just industry, but globally for everything, every organization, how we need to feel comfortable to be in a position to do that rather than being alienated and pushed out and, made to feel awful, I can imagine, when you're put in
Yes.
that position.
Banishment.
Yeah,
Yes.
terrible.
Yes.
Okay, so you mentioned Running Name LLC. Before we talk about the not for profit, just talk to me a little bit about what you do there.
So yeah, Running Name LLC. So the I named it Running Name because I literally started the company after that whole incident happened, and I didn't know what I was going to name it. So I was just like, I'll just call it Running Name, and then I'll change it later maybe. But
Too
I
late
just ended.
now.
Yeah, too late now. It ended up sticking. Um, but so essentially, the goal is to help small businesses and nonprofits through security and design. A lot of small businesses, once they get hit by a cyber attack, they go out of business. I think
Yeah,
statistic is like 60%. Um, and a lot of times when small businesses do get hacked, they don't have the expertise and they don't know what happened to be able to recover from it. Where large businesses they get attacked all the time, and they have the money to just
yeah.
keep doing the wrong things over and over again.
And
So
what feedback have you had from small businesses and charities that you've helped? Because a lot of what we hear, let me frame that question a little bit more. A lot of what we hear is that people don't want to engage with cybersecurity, but I think I've heard differing opinions to that, especially from people who are dealing with the small to medium business sector, where they feel a little bit alienated and left out of the loop when it comes to being educated. What have you found?
So I found the same thing, honestly. I didn't sometimes I too can be too close to it, but what I personally learned early on was that I didn't think small businesses really cared about cyber too much. I cared more about marketing. I can't have a conversation with them about cyber and what I'm saving them. They want to hear about sales and their numbers and followers.
Yeah.
And so kind of you have to I think you have to change the conversation to how to maintain how cybersecurity can help maintain followers. You know, um, because I feel like not very shockingly, people who are in the cybersecurity world, they might really talk over them or not. They don't know how to meet them where they are, meet the customer where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that desire. It was the same in financial services when you've got people who are subject matter experts in their field. Some of them like to impart that knowledge all the time, whether people want to hear it or not, and sometimes in ways that people just don't understand as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I don't think it's just cybersecurity. It's any kind of technical role. People get so stuck in the weeds of the detail when
Mhm.
really it's what is the acronym KISS, isn't it? Which is keep it simple, stupid. I think,
Yes.
which is something I think we should advocate for more because I'm quite stupid and I like it simple.
Yes, I think about this all the time when like the chef wants to tell me about all the stuff detail that goes into the food. Like, I just want to eat it. Give it to me. Like I
Yeah.
don't care about all this stuff. I appreciate that you did all this stuff, but I don't want to hear it. I just want to eat it. You know.
And what's the biggest challenge you're finding that small businesses and charities or not-for-profit organisations are having to deal with?
Um. So kind of like so first, I like helping nonprofits that have like a target audience and they're helping their target audience every day, but they just don't have the marketing budget to really help out. And so I'm sorry, one more time, what was the question? What are small businesses? What's the feedback
I
I'm getting
think. Well,
from
I
them?
think what are you finding is their biggest challenge when it comes to security? So this a lot of the time they haven't even thought about security before. So when you're
Yeah.
speaking to them, what's the overriding thing they need help with?
Um I think they need really help with the basics. And
Yeah,
because the internet and IT is changing so often, it's just hard for them to keep up, you know? Um if you think about, they have somebody had may have had, cybersecurity training 10 years ago, it's not going to be anything like it was
no,
today, but they might, well, some people do believe that, I took this many years ago, you know?
I'm an expert.
Yeah, yeah. That's another thing too. Everybody's an expert in cyber, right? There's a name for that, right? This is the Dunloop or Dunlop or
Is it I'm gonna have to Google that now. Hold on.
yeah. But that's one thing that I found I was shocked, but I guess I shouldn't be shocked, but people can really get empowered quickly about their knowledge of cyber, and where like I'm super close to it, so I'm like I don't know this, I'm always like afraid that I'm missing something,
It's that
and
natural inquisitiveness you've got, Paul.
yes, and then a lot of times people don't think that it can happen to them. That's another thing too. They don't think that they're big enough or important enough, but
But the
generally,
hackers, the hackers don't care, right?
yeah, the hackers don't care. They're going to use you to attack somebody else. That's the reason why. Kind of like same thing with COVID. You have to like, even if you're not going to get sick, or it doesn't matter if you get sick, you're going to get other people sick. You know, like they will hack the flower shop to hack the DOJ. You know,
Yeah.
so
It's scary, isn't it? It is scary.
it's the reality we live in.
It is. Next question. Let's talk about the work you're doing in your own not-for-profit. Talk to me about how that all started.
So the non-for-profit kind of started how the running name started. One day I was like, I think we need a non-for-profit. But essentially we were after we first kind of like within that first year of starting the company and thinking that, oh, small businesses are going to want security services, and learning that they really want art. You can't sell anything without art, right? And then so we started recruiting, me and my co-founder, Taj. At the time we were just friends, and she had expressed the idea of starting her own um, non-for-profit focus on education, right? And so I was kind of giving hints and pointers from her about like how to recruit students, what students want, X, Y, and Z. And so we ended up recruiting a bunch of interns from Handshake. And um,
What's Handshake?
Handshake is a platform that college students can use. Most colleges, I feel like, have it, but as a business, you can register on there and say we're looking for interns for our company, you know,
Okay.
and you can post paid and unpaid internships. And so we posted graphic design and web design jobs there, and shockingly, we had students kind of flood to this our small business, and it's because they really wanted hands-on experience with working with businesses, you know. And then
And
so
it's
kind of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
sorry, go on. No, you go.
And then so kind of like the floodgates kind of really opened, and so we kind of just got better and better at recruiting and retaining interns and pairing them with small business owners and nonprofits. And then we kind of like started to create programs behind this, experiential learning, so it's kind of like we're building it in reverse, and then also kind of learning about the inadequacies of the current education system at the same time, you
Oh,
know.
let's talk about that in a minute.
Yes, yes. um Uh, but it's so far it's been great. There's been a lot of people who have gotten on board. So EduRunner's goal is to help educate people through experience and gamification, right? And so our flagship program is called Dope Digital, and that's where we pair like a cohort of students to work with a nonprofit. And so we had our we've always been kind of like doing this, right? But we had really formalized it last year, and we had like our first cohort, our first official cohort. We had 3 students from Liberty University. It's a not no, is it Liberty University?
You
I'm gonna
better
look it up
check.
right now.
You better
Yeah,
check.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna say Liberty University for right now, and then when I look it up, then I'll fix it. But we had our first. It was a liberal arts school. It is
There we go.
called
Nearly.
nearly Wheaton College. There it is.
There we go.
Wheaton College Liberal Arts School in Massachusetts. We took 3 students from that college, and we helped them um, learn about IT and cyber marketing, and we helped create a branding, a website, policies for a company called Improving Healthcare Culture, a
Amazing.
nonprofit. Yeah, and the students learned a lot, um, got a lot of positive feedback, and so now we're trying to expand that program, and we're going to be working with 3 or 4 different nonprofits this year.
Amazing. Talk to me about what you're going to be doing this year. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, this year we're gonna be working with so the 3 nonprofits that we're for sure gonna be working with is the DMV Boat Owners Club. So
Yeah.
DMV, for people who aren't familiar with the area,
Department of Motor Vehicles?
DMV it's an area. It's the
I'm,
DC,
I'm only
Maryland,
kidding.
Virginia.
I did know
Oh,
that. Yeah.
that's right, that's right. You do know that. You would know that, I guess. But yeah, yeah, the DMV area. We're trying to focus on sorry, the DMV Boat Owners Association. Is a people with disposable money who
Yeah.
need help organizing, don't
You,
know how to
I'm
internet.
telling you now, as a previous former boat owner, you
Hmm.
definitely need disposable money if you own a boat. They are literally just a money pit.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a free. I mean, I want to ride on boat. You
Cool.
know,
Me too.
yeah,
Yeah.
fishing, drinking. Oh, I'm a fan.
Or maybe fishing, just not the drinking for me, but definitely get my fishing rod out. So when does that all start?
I'm probably gonna start. We're gonna start cohorts this summer.
Okay, brilliant. And are you interested in working with another not-for-profit to do something similar?
I
Nudge,
am.
nudge, wink, wink.
What could you be talking about? I wonder.
Well,
Hmm.
I think you've seen parts of the journey the last 3 years of InfoSec Live,
Hmm.
and I think the real power in what we've built as a community is the bringing the people together. When it comes to educating them, I'm not in a position to do that, and we don't have the resources internally to do that. So, if we could work out a way how we can do this together using both not-for-profit statuses, I'd be really interested to explore that. So let's have a chat about that online afterwards. And Prashant, I see in the chat, I definitely don't own a yacht. What I have got is a $10 kayak in my garden that I bought from over here is Gumtree. I think you call it Craigslist
Hmm.
in the US. And it's a fiberglass kayak with about 3 holes in the bottom. So that's where my boating prowess currently lays,
Uh,
Prashant, just to clear that one up.
all you need is that and imagination.
It is, yeah, or a big engine on the back, yeah. Vroom, vroom. We've got a couple of questions in. Do you mind if I just bring them up? There we go.
Sure.
So Prashant was the first one. What should companies do to retain neurodiverse employees when they are burnt out from the frustrations of the environment around them? That's a good question.
So we haven't really crossed that path yet. But so as a company, we haven't crossed that path yet. But in general, you should always. Um, I feel like in the UK, you guys, or in Europe, you guys might be doing it way better than us. If you are in Europe, Mad Dog, but
He
mandatory
is.
vacations. Um, are your vacation policies similar as Germany's, or how does that work?
I don't think so. I mean, as we normally get a set amount of days per year, so
Hmm.
depending on the employer and the level of the role, you get anywhere between, I think it's 20 to 27 and a half days off a year. They
Hmm.
have recently changed the law around paternity, because paternity leave used to be really, really short here in the UK. You know, you'd end up having 2 weeks off and then having to leave the mum or your partner to go back to work straight away. We have just increased that, but I think again it's quite employer dependent.
Hmm.
There aren't really. I think we're about as far behind as you, I think, is the point I'm trying to get to.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. For some reason I thought that you guys would be similar to, but so I guess in the case, so leave is always a step in the right direction. But as far as neurodiverse employees, you gotta really meet them where they are at. A lot of time, we don't like to speak or be in meetings. I'm not gonna speak for all neurodiverse people.
No,
I'm not all of them in one. Um,
although it
but
feels like it sometimes, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
all the voices. Um,
Yeah, that's a different show. That's a different show.
for
It's a
sure. My
different
bad.
show. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would definitely say meet them where they're at. Like certain people, they get really burnt out by being around a lot of people. So remote work, it might be good. Less meetings, being able to work independently, um, and or this might also help neurodiverse people. Like if they want to be closer to their family, that might help them relax and be calm. There's a lot of different approaches that you can take, but it really does go back to the individual. Because neurodiverse is a very wide swath of
It
people.
is, and it goes back to the individual of whoever's managing the team, I'd argue as well, and how much empathy they have and understanding they have of other people's, needs. I mean, Alana, good to see you. You've made a good point there. Disconnect after work hours, which is something I'm absolutely shockingly bad at.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of neurodiverse people are. Create a schedule that you can make sure to get your exercise and hobbies in, and have open communication with your manager. I mean, I cannot agree more with the exercise. I didn't do any exercise for about 4 years. Since January this year,
Hmm.
I've been exercising every day. I've lost 10 kilos in weight. I feel, well, I'll say I feel better mentally. I've struggled mentally a bit recently as well, but that's different reasons. But the exercise has definitely helped, getting out there in the fresh air,
Yeah.
enjoying the countryside. I think being around nature as well is one that I'll throw in there. No, Alana, I'm not still swimming. Just because it takes me half an hour. This is my excuses coming out now. It takes me half an hour to drive in the car to the pool. So it's like an hour trip there and back. So I've been walking slash jogging, nearly running around the country lanes near me. But yeah,
Yeah.
I did take the
Exercise.
children swimming at the weekend though.
Yeah, exercise is huge. Just I've never had a workout that I regretted. You know.
No. Oh, I have legs mostly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you regret in the moment, or maybe the next day, but the week after, you're like, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, it's hard. Although I say legs because I've got some dumbbells that I do some bits within the garden. As you can see, not very much, but a little bit. And I hadn't done legs for about 3 years, and I did some about 4 weeks ago for the first time. And no word of a lie, the next day I thought it was bad, but the day after that, I couldn't even stand up without making what I call old man noises, like "Ah!"
Yeah.
every time I got up. Just was that lactic acid, I think, isn't it? If someone who knows more about it, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely work out at least 3 times a week just because I don't want to fall back into that again.
It's easy done, isn't it? It's all about habit forming, isn't it? I think. I
Yeah.
don't know, Prashant. You've got a really bizarre idea of where I live, because I'm going to install an Olympic-sized pool in my garden next. We could probably fit one in there, but it is like a field. I don't think the farmer would be very happy. I'm going to take some pictures and drop them in the community of my shabby garden later, just so you get a true snapshot of the life I'm actually living here. Um, back to the chat then, Paul. So your
Hmm.
passion for tech, where did that come from? Did it come from your service or did it come before that?
Um, so I think about this often, right? Like, when did I first like love technology? But I feel like in San Diego, like in middle school, there was like a few courses on, like, getting people learning about technology, like getting the youth involved in technology, like in STEM. And I
Yeah.
think that's in San Diego they had like a lot of programs like that for disadvantaged youth, which I was. And I think that's really what fired it off for me. And it also made me feel smart because, like, my parents didn't understand this, like, oh, you don't understand how to do this. So it also gave me some use. you know
Yeah.
they were always fascinated. Oh, you know how to use this mouse? Huh?
And would you say that whoever it was who taught you the tech, did they have a big impact on that? I mean, I say this as someone who struggled with the school system,
Hmm.
in that I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until my mid 40s. So I was just the naughty kid at school who used to get in trouble all the time. So I didn't have very good relationships with many teachers. But one teacher in particular who I did get on really well with was my English teacher, who also did computers, which it used to be called when I was at school. You can imagine how big they were. But it
Hmm.
was their passion and their genuine desire to try and help other people that I think got me interested in tech. So it was the people behind it as much as the technology itself. People who showed an interest in you, people who encouraged you. I think for me, has definitely been a massive impact on my life in lots of different areas. Would you agree with that, or did you have a different experience?
um I never really communicated with, like, my teachers too much. It was more like a silent admiration, if anything.
Yeah,
But what I think one big thing that really made me, I almost want to say dependent on technology, but or really love it, was playing MMOs at a young age. I got to really communicate with people all over the world playing. Um, I'm gonna date myself. Ragnarok Online. I used to play World of Warcraft avidly. Um, avidly.
like a
Back in the
full-time
day.
job, avidly, or
Yes, I used to,
yeah,
like, get updates on the new raids. I was like, the whole job application to get into a raid thing, that was me, like, put my best foot forward. I want to get into this raid or this guild because they raid everything. But just being able to, like, talk to so many people around the world, around the country, that shared my same that like we had the same ideas, enjoyed the same things, same music, same everything. I just love the community.
it's the finding your crowd bit, isn't it? I think,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think that the tech industry is pretty good for that. I mean, I've never met such a friendly bunch of people. So is Paul a World of Warcraft ninja? Is the question from Prashant.
Yes. There's no
Yes.
ninjas in World of Warcraft, but
Yeah.
yes.
You're showing your age there, Prashant.
Yes.
You were playing Jet Set Willy with me at the time, I think, back in
I
the day.
I played WoW. I was too afraid to play WoW when it first came out, so I never really played vanilla. But I got in after Burning Crusade, and then I think the last time I ended in the military, my supervisor had got me a copy of Mist of Pandaria, and I tried that, and I was like, still no, not doing
Yeah,
this anymore.
it's not the same. No,
Not the
I've
same.
just noticed we've got Andrew Bunch in the audience. Good to see you, Andrew. It's been ages, isn't it, since we last saw each other in Tampa. Andrew said he's got PTSD and Asperger's, and 100% remote work has been really awesome. Although I can vouch for this, that Andrew does like being around people a lot, though, and has got one of the best sense of humours I've ever met. So thanks for the contribution there, Andrew. We're pretty much out of time, so I want to ask you one last question before we wrap things up. Well, two questions actually. One, if people want to get involved and find out more about, oh, where's he gone? Was it something I said? Or
Sorry, my
hold
internet,
on.
like, twice a day. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Hold on one sec. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
That's good. I don't know why I'm now big on the screen and you're not. Hold on one second.
Sorry, my internet cuts out like twice
Oh,
a day for a second.
hold on. Are you on Starlink? Because I'm on. Let me see if I can sort this out. I'm on Starlink, and
Really? People
yeah,
actually use that?
yeah, we do. Oh, I can't get it back to how it was. Let's just put it like this. I use it because we live in such a remote location that there's no internet line, there's no cable
Mm,
in. So it's either a 4G router, which I've got as a backup, because where our Starlink dish is mounted,
mm,
we've got a thatched roof on this old farmhouse that we live in, so you can't put it on the roof. So I've had to put it on the roof of the shed. But what that means is every 43 minutes, there's an obstruction of the house. So, like yours, mine goes boom and just cuts out for 10 seconds and then
mm,
jumps back in. Andrew says Starlink backpack is actually awesome for those cons. Sometimes people kill the networks. That's very true, actually. And if I pay another $40 a month, I think it is, to Starlink, I can then put that dish on my caravan or my whatever you call them, motorhome over there, and take it around the country with me to get internet. So it is pretty good. But
mm.
for people who want to get involved or hear more about what you're doing, where do they go? How do they find it out?
Um, you can honestly follow us on social media. I'm probably the most active on LinkedIn out of all the social media platforms. But I say I'm very connected to the internet. Um, me and it are one.
Let me put this, your LinkedIn thing on here. There we go. Right. So there's your LinkedIn profile. EduRunner's website, I've put in the chat link as well. And yeah, press on. I don't think it could. I don't even be able to string a sentence together today. So I don't think me doing this on the road would be a particularly good idea at the moment. Last question. Who's been your biggest inspiration?
Who has been my biggest inspiration?
It doesn't have to be a real person. It could be a book. It could be something you've read. It could be something you've seen. It could be anything. It
So
could be you.
it's gonna be sound cheesy, but Nelson Mandela, as of more recently, because I did my master's at George Mason University recently. I didn't finish, but I really wanted to go because I really wanted to figure out how to help manage these nonprofits I work with better, right? And we did our virtual overseas trip, and in one of the trips we got to talk to, I guess it was the guard that one of the guards that was there with Mandela,
Oh wow.
and he was telling him about how like every single time no wait how did he stay inspired while he was in jail for so long. It's like every single time like somebody new came in, you know, then that just inspired him like this person needs help. He just wanted to keep helping more and more people, even though he wasn't doing great, he just had to keep helping more and more people. Each person that came in inspired him, you know. And it's kind of like the same thing, like each new intern I work with like definitely inspires me. Like there's been some of my interns I work with are like, man, they got a long way to go, or man, the school didn't teach them anything. I feel like, but then like over time they just like become really, really good. And I'm like, man, their passion just really carries them, you know?
It's amazing to see, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, to see what they'll go through, or how they keep on trying, because I'm not gonna quit on you, you know? You gotta quit on yourself.
That is a super important message, I think, isn't it? It's you can get as much help as you want, but if you haven't got the belief in what you're doing yourself, you'll never get anywhere. And I think that for me is one of the things I've come across a lot in the industry, where people are struggling with imposter syndrome, who've got tons of talent, people who are neurodiverse and find, I suppose, open dialogue and rooms full of people quite difficult. And because of that, their careers are being stifled from it. And
Hmm.
one of my biggest hopes for the InfoSec Live community is that we can do more to help people like that. I think next week I've booked in a free session on a soft skills workshop, where we're going to look at ways to build confidence, because we talked about habit building earlier, and confidence building is the same. It's a habit, it's a habit that you can form to improve, whether you find it comfortable or not. And Paul, we've had conversations before. You've never done sales before recently. You've never done this sort of thing. You found it
Yeah.
difficult to start with. And your words to me, I hope you don't mind me repeating this before we went live, was
Mhm.
that it's all so new and I'm loving it. You're actually enjoying that sales process part of it as well. So it just goes to show that just because we don't like something doesn't mean that we can't do it. And I think you have to push your boundaries a little bit sometimes and make yourself uncomfortable to do
Exactly.
that.
That's something my co-founder told me, Taj. He said, "Do it scared," like, but
Yeah.
still do it. Try.
Yeah, It's important, isn't it? Well, look, Paul, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on to have a chat. Let's catch up on a one-to-one next week or so and see how we can support each other and get what you're doing at EduRunner into the community to try and help some of the people. I know you gave away some cloud stuff. I think it was it Google Cloud, the bits you gave away before?
Yes, those the Google Cloud certification certificate courses. Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
what we're
Yeah,
giving away.
I've had Diamond Williams, one of our community members. He was asking me today about if I knew of any cloud programs that there were out there. So maybe we could have a chat about that and look at
Okay.
building one of those. That'd be good.
Yeah.
But Paul, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Everyone who's tuned in, thank you very much for taking the time. Sorry, I've been a bit stumbly today. It's the first live I've done for 2 weeks. I've got to put my teeth back in for the next one and I'll get my words out. But it's been a pleasure. Paul, thank you so much, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.
Yes,